I knew something was wrong the second the security guard tilted his head and squinted at me like I was a stranger trying to sneak into a federal building. Sorry, Mom. This badge isn't active, he muttered, scanning it again like maybe the plastic was lying. It wasn't. I was. To him, I was nobody. Not Sarah from legal. Not the contracts analyst who'd written half the company's compliance protocols. Just a woman holding a baby carrier in one hand and a beige envelope in the other. I didn't argue. I stepped back, lips tight, pulse slow. The front desk receptionist, new of course, looked past me like I was a delivery. I used to bring donuts for that desk. I used to have a damn parking spot with my name on it. Now I couldn't even get buzzed in. 12 weeks. That's all it had been. 12 legally protected, HR approved, federal law-backed weeks after birthing a child. I'd filed every form, updated every manager, sent a farewell email so meticulously worded it could have been read into the congressional record. And yet when I finally made it to the elevator and walked down the hallway to where my office should have been, I stopped cold. Gone. No desk. No chive. No lamp. Even the damn ficus I'd watered every Thursday was missing. My nameplate? Sitting in the trash can like a crumpled receipt. That's when I noticed Megan. Blonde. 24 maybe. On my floor. At my desk. Chatting loudly with someone on speaker about a client I'd signed personally 2 years ago. She had a Starbucks in one hand and her shoes off, like this was her living room. My office, the one I'd fought to keep during last year's budget freeze, had become her little playground. If you've ever felt your heart squeeze without beating faster, like it's folding in on itself instead of pumping, you'll understand the moment I felt next. It wasn't rage. It wasn't even shock. It was cold. Flat. Like I was reading a script I already knew the ending to. "Let's talk upstairs," came the voice behind me. I turned to see the new HR director, Kelly or Katie or some other executive wine mom name, giving me a fake smile that stopped 2 inches short of her eyes. She gestured toward the conference room. Already walking like this was a routine she'd practiced. And if you've made it this far into the story, do me a favor. Tap that like button and hit subscribe. 97% of folks listen without following, and honestly, it means a lot to the team bringing these stories to life. It really does keep us going. Thanks. I didn't follow her right away. I bent down, gently adjusted my daughter's pacifier, and took one long breath like I was prepping for surgery. Then I picked up the envelope from where I'd tucked it beside the car seat, and walked down the hallway like I still owned it. Because I did. In ways none of them were prepared for. Inside the conference room, the chairs were already arranged. A pitcher of water. 2 notebooks. 1 laptop open, cursor blinking like a metronome. Katie Kelly HR lady gestured to a seat. "So, first of all, welcome back," she said with that practiced HR tone. The one they use when they're about to set you on fire but want you to feel flattered about it. He said slowly. Set the baby carrier beside me. And placed the envelope on the table. "Before you say a word," I said, looking her dead in the eyes, "read this." She hesitated before opening it, nails French-tipped, trembling just enough to notice. I watched her expression shift in real time like a mood ring boiling under a heat lamp. The fake professionalism melted first, then the managerial detachment. By the time she got to page 2, her fingers had stopped turning pages and started clutching them. She didn't speak. Just blinked. The contract was there in black and white, dated 6 months before I went on leave. Amendment to Section 6.3b. Initialed by then COO Daniel Evers. It guaranteed my title, salary, and physical office space for no less than 12 months post-leave. Under a stability and transition clause that I had drafted myself, printed at home, and handed to Daniel in a sealed folder over lunch. The man was a lot of things, but sloppy wasn't one of them. He signed, scanned, and emailed it back within an hour. I still had the original in a fireproof lockbox in my closet. Katie, or whatever Barbie alias she went by, flipped to the next page and stopped cold. My lawyer's letterhead. Page 1 of a 5-page notice outlining breach of contract, referencing federal maternity protections, civil damages, and a little gift-wrapped clause at the bottom about intentional career displacement during protected leave. The kind of wording that makes even confident companies start stuttering. especially when they're in the middle of Series C negotiations, and there's a media whisper campaign about gender parity brewing. She looked up at me like I'd just grown fangs. Did legal see this? She asked, voice already tight. I emailed it to the general counsel last Friday, I said. BCC'd myself. Want me to forward it to you? She didn't answer that. Instead, she leaned forward and whispered like someone trying not to wake a monster. Why didn't I know about this? I shrugged. Maybe you should have read the onboarding file. Or maybe you were too busy replacing me with the CEO's niece. Her head jerked slightly, just a twitch, but enough to confirm she knew exactly who Megan was. Knew exactly what they'd done. And maybe, just maybe, was starting to realize how badly they'd misplayed it. I didn't move. Didn't blink. Just sat there in my same post-baby jeans and blazer that still smelled faintly like formula and courtroom. I wasn't here to argue. I was here to win. And I knew enough about power to know that silence, when it's fully loaded, is louder than any scream. She took a shaky sip from the glass of water in front of her, lips suddenly dry. I need to give me a few minutes. She stood up without pushing her chair back fully, and I watched her clip out of the room on heels suddenly less stable than she thought. I didn't turn around when the door shut behind her. Just reached down and rocked the baby carrier with one hand while the other rested, steady as hell, on the empty chair beside me. Let her run to legal. Let her scramble through inboxes and half-read memos. Let her realize what happens when you try to erase someone who knows the fine print better than you ever will. The hallway outside HR had that sterile hotel carpet smell mixed with faint citrus cleaner and corporate dread. I stood there, arms crossed, baby sleeping in the carrier at my feet, and listened. The door hadn't fully latched. Their mistake. Not mine. Inside, voices fluttered. Hushed, rapid, tripping over themselves. The kind of tone reserved for bad news that's worse than it looked on the spreadsheet. I caught the scratch of a chair dragging. Someone knocked over a water bottle and hissed shit under their breath. Then came legal. I need you to walk me through this timeline, a man's voice said, tense and clipped. If she was on protected leave, and the position was materially altered or eliminated during that window, we're exposed. Do you understand? A pause. She wasn't just on leave, Katie whispered. She was gone. It wasn't clear if she was coming back. Wrong move. Another voice jumped in, higher-pitched, younger. But she sent the return-to-work confirmation on June 9th. I saw it. She copied everyone. You're sure? Legal again, sharper now. I can pull it up, the younger one stammered. Wait. Silence. Then the damning phrase, delivered like a paper cut across the conference table. They hired Megan for her desk 2 months ago. The air went still. Even from the hallway, I could feel it. That shiver of recognition. They didn't just screw up. They put it in writing. She's the CEO's niece, the junior HR rep added, softer now. We were told to fast-track her onboarding. And there it was. The not-so-secret secret. Not just an HR oversight. Not a system error or paperwork delay. Nepotism, gift wrapped in a Nordstrom interview outfit and iced coffee, shoved directly into my role before I'd even unpacked the last box of breast milk bags from the freezer. I leaned back against the wall, staring at the ceiling tiles. Resigned fury doesn't look like yelling. It looks like knowing exactly what they did and letting them walk straight into the consequences. Documented and time-stamped. Every email, every blind copy, every calendar invite where I was suddenly optional. Archived and organized in a folder on my cloud drive labeled, in case they try me. They tried me. The door cracked open and someone peeked out, panic in a blazer. I made eye contact and didn't flinch. Let them see me. Let them see the woman they thought they could quietly erase now standing 10 feet from the fallout, holding a sleeping infant like a damn weapon. They knew. And it was too late to undo it. 6 months before I ever packed a hospital bag or practiced a single breathing technique, I smelled the rot. They called it a minor restructure. Like it was just a light dusting of layoffs to keep the budget lean. But I've worked too many late nights redlining vendor agreements to miss the scent of strategic downsizing when it's laced with flattery. My manager started ending meetings with things like, "You'll be fine, Sarah, you're essential." That's corporate for. We're already replacing you. But we'd prefer you not cause a fuss before we do. So I got quiet. But not still. I scheduled a maternity transition planning lunch with Daniel Evers, the then COO. 2 months before my leave officially began. He was distracted, already floating the idea of early retirement, which made him the perfect signature mark. I handed him a clean, 3-page contract amendment over turkey club sandwiches and a spreadsheet of fake transition timelines. The clause was simple: reinstatement in full upon return from federally protected leave. No exceptions unless initiated by me in writing. Office space. Title. Salary. Even parking spot. It wasn't buried. It was bolded. Daniel initialed it between bites of bacon and a joke about his golf handicap. I smiled, thanked him, and added the signed copy to a folder I didn't name Legal Trap, because I'm not sloppy. I called it Q3 Continuity Docs. Uploaded to both cloud and encrypted USB. When the time came to go on leave, I didn't vanish. I curated my absence like a damn museum exhibit. Emails were meticulous. Calendar blocks labeled and shared. My out-of-office reply contained a backup contact and a legal disclaimer. I even dropped by with donuts the Friday before my leave started, smiled, wished them luck, and noted which eyes didn't meet mine. They were already plotting. The week after the baby was born, during one of those 3 a.m. feedings when everything feels apocalyptic, I had a bad feeling. Checked my work inbox. Locked out. No warning. No update. Just access denied. I didn't panic. I screenshotted it. Filed it. Added it to the growing digital graveyard of HR failures. 2 weeks after that, a coworker, someone from finance I'd helped during a budget audit, texted me. "Hey, weird Q. Did you resign?" I asked why. He sent me a photo. My office. Empty. Plants gone. Whiteboard wiped. A new name on the door. Megan. I didn't cry. I requested a time-stamped walkthrough of the floor from building security, citing asset tracking. They sent it without question. It showed Megan walking into my office 5 weeks before my return date, ID badge freshly printed. That was the final nail. I filed the EEOC complaint under seal with my lawyer. Just in case. 1 week before walking back into the building with my daughter in one hand and the envelope in the other. They thought I was just another woman going on leave. I was a contracts analyst with a long memory and a longer paper trail. The break room smelled like burnt hazelnut syrup and fake cheer. Someone had half-assed a fall theme on the bulletin board. Paper leaves, pumpkin stickers, a crooked sign that said, "Let's crunch these goals," in Comic Sans. I stood by the sink rinsing out a baby bottle, listening to the coffee machine spit and sputter like it hated its job as much as I hated being in this room. Then came the voice. "Oh, you must be Sarah." I turned. Megan. In the flesh. All bleached balayage and curated Instagram energy. She had that kind of innocent, wide-eyed smile that screamed I've never faced a consequence in my life. One hand cradled a $7 cold brew like a Fabergé egg. The other held her phone, screen still lit with an open Slack message. Probably the thread labeled transition support, where my name used to be. I didn't answer. I didn't need to. She shifted, as if the silence made her uncomfortable. "Good. They said you left the team voluntarily?" she offered, voice rising at the end like a question, like maybe she wasn't entirely sold on her own line. I blinked once. Slowly. Then turned back to the sink, set the bottle on the drying rack, and dried my hands with the paper towel that always tore too soon. Still silent. Still steady. Because here's the thing about women like Megan. They live in a world where privilege cushions every fall and ignorance is weaponized as charm. She wasn't malicious. She was complicit. A participant in a system that made my erasure look like an opportunity. And even if she didn't mean to step on my neck, she didn't once stop to ask whose neck the carpet was covering. "Sorry," she added after a beat like a reflex. "For what? For speaking? For taking my office? For sipping iced coffee at a desk you didn't earn?" Still I said nothing. I just picked up my bag, adjusted the strap on my shoulder, and walked past her like she was furniture. I didn't need to raise my voice. I had evidence. When I got back to my car, I scrolled through my inbox, found the email I'd flagged during leave, HR's internal update claiming my voluntary departure. Attached were the meeting notes full of euphemisms. No longer an active contributor. Position to be repurposed. No return notification received. Timestamped. Tagged. Forwarded. Subject line. Voluntary separation. Recipient my attorney. No words added. None needed. The boardroom was quieter than a grave. No speakerphone. No typing. Just a thick, suffocating silence broken only by the occasional rustle of legal pads and the frantic tapping of a paralegal's pen against her folder like Morse code for "we're screwed." I wasn't there, of course. That would have been too generous. Too dramatic. I let my lawyer handle it. She wore all black, sharp heels, and a smirk she didn't bother hiding. The email had gone out that morning. Subject line. Formal demand, reinstatement and compensatory damages, and landed in inboxes like a brick through stained glass. 5 pages. Straightforward. Brutal. Demanded immediate reinstatement, full back pay with interest, accrued bonuses, a public apology signed by the CEO, and a corrective memo distributed to all internal channels, clearing my name. They had 72 hours. After that, we would proceed directly to litigation. And she noted in paragraph 3, the EOC case had already been assigned a lead investigator. The legal team read it once in silence. Then again. Slower. Mouths tightening with every paragraph. One associate tried to say it was an oversight. Another pointed out, tentatively, that the former COO's signature was valid and time-stamped. The same guy who once praised my contract work as surgical. She's got us on federal grounds, someone finally said. Title VII violations. FMLA. Plus breach of contract. And possibly retaliation. She has records, another added, flipping through printed screenshots like they were radioactive. Emails. Photos. Even badge access logs showing the replacement's entry to her office during protected leave. Then came the word nobody wanted to say, but everyone was thinking. Discovery. It hung there. Thick. Heavy. Dangerous. Because here's what most companies forget. The lawsuit is never the real threat. It's the discovery phase. The digging. The emails. The Slack messages. The little corporate skeletons rattling in HR closets they thought were sealed and buried. And in a company positioning for a Series C round, where every investor is combing through press and legal exposure like bloodhounds. That word alone could shave millions off their valuation. The CEO wasn't in the room, but his shadow was. His niece was, metaphorically speaking, still sipping cold brew at my desk. His public equity profile showed 5 speaking engagements in the next month, all touting diversity and leadership. The optics weren't just bad. They were radioactive. I stayed silent. My phone stayed silent. But at 4:42 p.m., my attorney left me a voicemail I'll never delete. Her voice was calm, low, satisfied. They're not worried about you suing, she said. They're terrified of discovery. The email came in at 9:03 a.m. Subject line. Let's find a path forward. It was from Katie, the HR director whose hands had trembled opening my envelope. Now she wanted to talk informally. She used phrases like mutually beneficial resolution and open dialogue. I forwarded it to my lawyer with a one-line reply. No meetings without counsel. All communications in writing. By noon, she followed up with a voicemail, syrupy, sweet and cracking at the edges. Sarah, we're really hoping to move past this. Maybe a coffee, just the two of us? The desperation stank through the speaker. They weren't looking to fix anything. They were looking to bury it. But they were already too late. That same afternoon, I got a LinkedIn message from a woman I hadn't heard from in 2 years, Melissa, who used to lead product marketing before she resigned suddenly, after her second child. She'd seen the quiet buzz starting on Glassdoor and read it. She asked one question. Did they ghost your maternity paperwork too? By that evening, 3 more messages trickled in. All former employees. All women. All gone within 6 months of returning from parental leave. 2 were told their roles had been absorbed after strategic pivots. 1 had her title quietly downgraded mid-leave and returned to find her keycard wouldn't work. None of them had spoken publicly. Until now. We got on a call. I sat at my kitchen table with my daughter gurgling in her bouncer, listening as the stories overlapped. Copy-paste patterns. Documentation lost. Conversations unrecorded. Promises evaporated. Then came the spreadsheet. One of them, Rachel, a former finance lead, had exported a full departmental bonus report the week before her own departure. She never meant to keep it. But when they stiffed her on her return bonus and scrubbed her from the intranet overnight, she downloaded it in a fury. And now she sent it to me. It was a landmine. 12 women. Unpaid Q4 bonuses. Titled demotions. Maternity documents marked pending months after submission. 4 of the names were blacked out. Voluntary departures, under mysterious timing. 1 column color-coded red, simply read, no longer considered critical. The longer I stared, the colder I got. This wasn't my story. It was a system. They didn't just erase me. They designed it this way. Quiet, plausible, always polite. They counted on silence, fatigue, and shame. I wrote 1 sentence in an email to a firm known for class action employment suits. I believe I am one of many women systematically displaced from company, following federally protected leave. I attached the spreadsheet, the amended contract, the photo of my nameplate in the trash. The fuse wasn't just lit. It had already started burning through the floor. The letter from the EEOC arrived on a Tuesday morning, and by lunchtime, the mood inside corporate had curdled into pure acid. HR locked down internal calendars. The legal team disappeared into war rooms. Suddenly, every hallway conversation ended with a glance over the shoulder. I wasn't there to see it, but I didn't need to be. Word leaked fast. Someone on the internal compliance team whispered to a journalist. Someone else posted vague updates on Blind. Before 48 hours had passed, a tech outlet picked it up under the headline, Maternity Leave or Career Trap. Federal investigation opens into alleged workplace retaliation. The calls started pouring in after that. Reporters, lawyers, women from other companies. Someone dug up a conference photo of me from 2 years back when I was on a panel about work-life balance for women in tech. I looked tired even then, but calm, like I knew something the rest didn't. The company's first move? Panic. They tried to settle, quietly off the record, with the kind of NDA that comes wrapped in bonus clauses and false flattery. My lawyer didn't even blink. Not interested, she replied. We're past silence. So I gave 1 interview. No names. No slander. Just facts. Documents. Timelines. Patterns. I walked them through what happened to me, and to the others, and why so many women simply vanished from leadership without anyone blinking. The piece went live on a Friday. By Monday, it had over 2 million views. Reddit exploded. LinkedIn lit up. Former employees started tagging their own stories under the hashtag Claus Project. Megan's TikTok account quietly disappeared. Her last video, filmed from what used to be my office, got duet by a labor rights account with the caption, "Funny how fast girl boss turns into ghost." That week Megan resigned. No fanfare. Just quietly removed from the org chart and replaced with a TBD. Katie from HR was placed on leave, pending an internal review. Investors weren't satisfied. They demanded an external audit, one that would look at hiring, retention, and compensation trends going back 5 years. The board, once smug and untouchable, now scrambled to schedule emergency meetings between apologies. The CEO issued a statement, 2 paragraphs of bland, mealy-mouthed fluff about our commitment to equality and growth. He never mentioned my name, never acknowledged what they'd done, just tossed out the corporate equivalent of thoughts and prayers and hoped it would pass. But it didn't. The story had a pulse now, and a name. At 6:02 p.m. that evening, I updated my email signature. Sarah Cole, Advisor, Equity Rights Initiative, Founder, The Claus Project. I didn't need their office anymore. I was building something they couldn't touch. The courthouse press room smelled like paper, sweat, and anticipation. Rows of mics lined the table like bayonets. Cameras blinked their little red dots, capturing every breath. I didn't flinch. I'd been cross-examined while pumping breast milk. Nothing rattled me now. Behind me, the attorneys wrapped up their statements, thick with legalese. $42 million. That was the number. The class action settlement covered lost wages, damages, and back pay for 12 women. Each story different, each ending the same. Erased. We didn't take it to trial. We didn't have to. The evidence was too damning. The discovery too deep. Emails, Slack threads, backdated memos. They handed us their own noose, and we handed it to the court. When they asked what I'd do with my share, I didn't pause. I'm donating it, I said, to a nonprofit for working mothers who think no one sees what's happening to them. That line made headlines. But the next one was the one that stuck. I didn't want revenge. I wanted accountability. This is a start. Back at headquarters, the fallout was biblical. The company's stock slid 38% in a week. Investors withdrew from the Series C round in droves, citing leadership instability and reputational risk. Internally, half the board resigned. The CEO, after issuing one final, condescending memo about new horizons, stepped down to spend more time with family. I'm told he left the building through a side door to avoid press. The building still stands. It's glass and concrete and painfully forgettable, like all the others. But inside, something's gone out. Recruitment's down. Turnover's up. A legacy of whispers replaced the best place to work banners that used to hang in the lobby. A photo made the rounds a few days after the settlement. Someone snapped it from across the street. Me walking past the building with my daughter on my hip. She's laughing at something, head thrown back. In my other hand, a framed nameplate. The one they tossed in the trash. Cleaned. Polished. Redeemed. I didn't smile for the camera. Didn't wave. Just kept walking. They thought I'd walk away quietly. I walked away permanently, with their signature on my justice.